Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. The next 10 minutes are inspired by a boulder and a mountain. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to the engine. In a recent conversation I had with my buddy Marty, the interview, as always, Marty got me. So he is super well read and really knowledgeable about ancient philosophy, about contemporary philosophy, about science, about everything, and it's amazing actually. I mean, he's married, he has kids, he's an incredible law enforcement officer. I don't know how he finds the time to keep reading all this stuff, but he does. And he snagged me on the origins of one particular philosophy, nihilism. Okay, so the idea is, if you're a nihilist, you believe that nothing really matters. Like, you renounce moral virtue, you renounce all religions, you just say life really has no purpose. Now, I was aware of this. It's not like I never heard of that. One of the first times I remember hearing about it was a scene from The Big Lebowski when John Goodman is fighting in the bowling alley parking lot with a bunch of German goth guys. And he tells Jeff Bridges, he's like, "They're nihilists, dude. They're cowards." He throws a bowling ball at him. But it was interesting because it introduced me to the idea of that as they don't really believe in anything. They don't believe in a god or a religion. They don't believe in virtues or the functioning of society. It was very interesting because I thought his point was actually very, very astute. How can you not be a coward if you don't believe in anything? If you don't believe in anything, there's nothing to get worked up about. But again, that's a little out there. So Marty snags me with this Greek story. All right, and it's essentially where they got all of the Star Wars bad guy names, the Siths, right? So there was this guy Sismus, Sisus, something like that. It sounds almost identical to Sith. So he was condemned by the gods to have to schlep this boulder up a hill. Okay, so he's like, gets his boulder, he's like, gets it up the hill, takes him all day, and then the boulder rolls down the hill to the bottom, and he has to go down and do it again. And he's not getting rewarded for this. There's no end point in sight. There's no, hey, I did it 10 times, or I did it 100 times, or 1,000 times, or I did it far enough, and I'm done. It's, no. Go get your boulder. And the dude has to go all the way down the hill and then lean into the boulder and start pushing again. And that is essentially this massive metaphor for life that leads you to this existential crisis of like, this is just pain and suffering. What are we doing here? And then you can find nihilism, which is, okay, there is no point to any of this actually. And those are jumps, right? You got to go through some work to get there, but you can string all of those ideas together and have this boulder and this hill kind of at the root of it. And to be honest, it's very hard to argue against that. And that's a crazy thought for me in particular, because I'm a rather optimistic person. But when presented with that concept, with that idea in general, I can't come up with a lot of good reasons why that's inaccurate. Because look at what we're doing. It's like Groundhog Day every day. But not just because of the COVID situation. It's Groundhog Day every day because this is our lives. This is it. This is all we do. We wake up, we eat some food, We schlep around busying ourselves with all kinds of tasks, most of which are not that taxing physically or really engaging. The vast majority of a day is done doing just stuff, and then we kind of just fall asleep and wake up the next day and do it again. I think it's particularly painful right now because people don't have a lot of distractions that bring them away from this. They don't have their relationships. They don't have their small minor goals, like a work goal or a personal, say workout goal. People are having a very hard time going to, say, Orange Theory or something and going faster on the treadmill or pulling more meters on the rowing machine, whatever it is. There are no distractions. There are no distractions anymore, and so people are coming back to, or at the very least feeling, this boulder up a hill. What the hell are we doing? And I've been thinking about that concept a lot. Not just since I spoke with Marty, but before then as well. And it's kind of like we are doing the same thing. And I remembered my cycling. I love cycling and I love going up Mount Diablo. And I rode up Mount Diablo with a good friend recently. And we were at the top. It was a great ride, and we were about to come down, and he said, "Now comes the fun part." And I stopped him and said, actually, I'd prefer if there was no downhill. I was like, what? It's like, well, it's going to take 25 minutes to get down. You're far more likely to get an accident when you're going fast downhill than uphill. And we're going to be cold by the time we get to the bottom. And I understand why it's the fun part, because it's easy. You cruise, you look at the clouds. I mean, you're usually above the clouds when you're at the top of Mount Diablo. It's beautiful. And you just cruise down, you see birds and all kinds of stuff. And it's wonderful. I mean, it really is great. But that's not why I ride the mountain. The fun part for me is having the mountain to climb. And after I thought a lot about the boulder and the hill and how that leads people to this kind of despair and there's no meaning to this, I started seeing all of the ways that that's just one way to frame the experience. And there's a wonderful scene. It's an older movie, Cool Hand Luke. And this guy's a prisoner. He's in a chain gang. He's in some jail somewhere. And they're doing this old school paving of these kind of like out there farm county roads. Asphalt truck drives by, and then Luke and his other guys are supposed to shovel this gravel onto the road. And it's just this horrible existence. It's hot. They're covered in dirt and oil, and it's just, ugh. But one day Luke starts shoveling fast. He starts shoveling fast and moving down, because every time they do a couple shovels, they have to move down the road, get more dirt, shovel more dirt down the road. They're moving, and all of a sudden he's moving really fast. And other people are like, why is it going so fast? And they start shoveling fast. And then the next guy starts shoveling fast and starts freaking out the guards. The guards are used to this chain gang guys just bent over, shoveling this gravel as slowly and pathetically as possible. And all of a sudden now everybody's fired up and they're moving it. And that's the shift in perspective. If you can change the way you see the boulder and the hill, and the piles of gravel on the road, and the mountain to ride up, if you can change the way you see that from, I'm condemned by the gods to do this forever, if you can change that viewpoint to be, I have an opportunity to do this today, and I'm going to rock the hell out of it. That keeps you away from that void. That keeps you away from despair. Even if it seems silly to say, I value getting up this mountain faster, or I value what I'm going to have to do to myself. I value the good fortune I have to ride up here. Even though somebody could come along and say, what does that really matter? The big scheme of things. Fine, maybe it doesn't. But for the next hour, it matters to me a lot. And if you can string days together like that, where you find value in the repetitive, painful tasks that we all experience, if you can find a way to value them, to seek additional ones out. I seek out the mountain. I go to the mountain intentionally to ride up it, only knowing that I'm going to have to come back to the bottom. The whole time I know that. I have no delusions, and I don't think I'll accomplish anything other than riding the mountain. If you can find a way to find value in that, in those types of engagements, then life, hopefully, will not be just another boulder up a hill. I'm Matt Todd, and this is the engine that drives me. Go out and crush it.